welcome to Mobility Matters. From your local voices to shared solutions, we are bridging the gaps that matter. We will bring you real stories, real challenges, and real solutions about transportation in rural Oklahoma. I'm your host, Christy Williams, Mobility Navigator for Southwest Oklahoma. And in each episode, we highlight voices navigating the roadblocks and building the bridges that get people where they need to go. Whether you're the rider, a provider, or a policymaker, this podcast is your place to connect, learn, and join the movement for mobility. So buckle up, grab your coffee, and let's go. Hello everyone. Today we're talking with Stephen Iken, who along with many other titles through SOCAG, he is the Mobility Director at Southwest Transit for this podcast. We want to get a closer look at how their Southwest Transit operates, the challenges they face, and what exciting projects are on the horizon. Stephen, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
So let's start with a little bit of background. Can you tell us where your transit agency operates, like what counties, and which areas or regions that you actually serve?
We're in Southwest Transit. We're in the very three corner counties of Southwest Oklahoma. That's Harmon, Greer, and Jackson counties. If you look in the map of Oklahoma, it's literally as far in the southwest corner as you can go.
So what kind of services do you offer at Southwest Transit?
We are an on-demand rural transit, what FTA calls the 5311. We offer public transit services on demand for anyone that wants it, but it's not a fixed route like you would traditionally think of in a city where you have bus stops. Instead, it's you call, we come pick you up, kind of like Uber, but without the cool technology.
Hey, but that's coming.
Yes, we're working on it.
Basically, I wanted to ask, who can ride Southwest Transit? I know there's a lot of stigma sometimes around public transit. I know there's a lot of misconceptions around public transit. So is there an income requirement or age requirement to ride Southwest Transit?
No, there's not, and that's true. A lot of people think of public transit and they think the elderly trying to get to appointments and homeless people and things like that. And we do offer services to everyone. So those people are certainly in our customer base as well, but it's for everyone. It's public transit. We do not discriminate, and we offer services to anyone that needs it. If you need a ride somewhere, doesn't matter your income, doesn't matter your race, gender, creed, anything else.
Well, and I know a lot of times with public transit, and I'm always surprised, and I think you and I have talked about this before, that people will say, well, I didn't even know we had a public transit. And
that's definitely true in our area too. It's one of the things we always fight. We're trying to get the word out there and let people know we exist and that we're there to use, and we're pretty cheap actually. If you compare us to a cab or an Uber in the big city.
Well, then it kind of going along with that line, what is your operating hours, like the days of the week? How long do you operate typically?
At present, we operate during the week, Monday through Friday. Generally, it's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. A lot of times what happens is because we require people to call ahead and arrange the rides. So usually about 4:30 in the afternoon, they'll start calling drivers back to the barn if there's no calling on the schedule. So
if someone wanted to get a ride, how much does it approximately cost?
It's $250 or $350. We have what we call Zone 1 and Zone 2 within the communities, and Zone 1 is a 2-mile radius of the communities, and Zone 3 extends it an extra mile. So, and that covers pretty much all of Altus and Mangum and Hollis.
Now, I do have a question, and this is a lot of times asked of me whenever I'm working with individuals. Say that I have someone that's in Altus, Mangum, wherever, and they need to go outside of the three counties. Can they do that?
Yes. On those, you probably want to call ahead and arrange it, so we have time to arrange the driver. But we do offer transit to other communities, but you have to arrange it ahead of time.
About how far in advance should they arrange it?
I'd say about a day, ideally, but at least a few hours.
Okay, yeah. Not last minute. It's
right.
Not Uber, like you said.
for the long distance. You know,
Right.
We'll work with you. We understand some things pop up, and sometimes things happen at the last minute. So we're not going to turn you away if you call 5 minutes before you need picked up. It's just understand we're an on-demand transit. So that means all our drivers might be out picking somebody up, and it may take us a little while to get to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if they're here in Altus, what kind of turnaround can they expect? Approximately.
Oh, I'd say half an hour or so.
Okay.
It depends. I mean, it could be faster or even longer depending on how busy we are, but we try to get to you as soon as we can.
Okay. Now let's shift to programs and initiatives. Are there any new programs, which I kind of know the answer to this. So are there any new, yes, it's a loaded question. Are there any new programs or pilot projects your agency has recently launched or is planning to roll out soon?
Yes, I'm happy to say we're part of a new program. It's called PIC, and before you ask what the acronym's for, it stands for the agencies that started the program in the first place. I know Pelivan, Kai Boys, and Cimarron are all in there, and they have a grant to expand the program, and they're working with ODOT on that. We are part of the expansion, and what that means for us is expanded hours. So we'll be expanding our hours from 5 to 9 during the week, 5 to 10 on Fridays, and I believe it's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday. That comes with the use of an app. They have software, and it'll be much more like Uber in this case. You download the app, you arrange the ride.
Do you get to pay online, or do you pay the person when you get on?
You could pay online.
Okay.
And also, you could still call the traditional way too. It's a different dispatcher than you would normally talk to, because it'll be through PIC. But you can also call a number and arrange the ride. You don't have to use the app. The app is there for your convenience.
And I know, just like, for instance, my dad. If I told him to use an app, he will never do it. He will have me use the app for him and
Correct.
schedule the ride, but he will not do it. So it's nice to know there's also a phone number for those that may not be comfortable using the app. I will say, you and I have talked about this before, if you look at the state of Oklahoma map, you have a whole congregation of PIC programs and stuff in the northeastern part of Oklahoma, and then it's a gigantic gap, and then southwest Oklahoma, Altus, Oklahoma, we have the PIC program.
It's very new to our region of Oklahoma, so we'll be the guinea pigs in that sense. But I'm looking forward to that. I see it as a way to advance our technology and at the same time offer more hours of service and better service to our customers. So.
Well, and I do know that when we first kind of visited, when I first started this program, we visited about our Air Force Base and the lack of transportation that they have on there. I think statistically in that meeting they said 1 in 3 airmen that show up at Altus Air Force Base do not have transportation. That's quite an astonishing number. But think about it. They're flying in, they're going to do their training here, and then why would they have a vehicle? Right. But one of the things that was mentioned to us is the fact that they don't get done till about 4:30, which if transit ends at 5, that gives them 0 time to go do some of their daily skills. When you created this basically created Altus Air Force Base into your geospacing, which is your mapping on where you can do this, which is huge for our Altus Air Force Base.
And to be clear, we've always been able to operate on base, so people on base can take advantage of our services, but as you pointed out, a lot of times they're working into the afternoon, and so right about the time they're getting off work, we're closing up shop. So in this sense, it gives them some more hours to go shopping or get into town or whatever they need done. And that's also true for the people in town as well. I mean, a lot of people these days work by necessity, so your 8 to 5ers and your 9 to 5ers will have a chance to take advantage of our services as well.
Absolutely, because if you get off work at 5 o'clock, that doesn't leave you any time to access public transit to get home. So I'm super excited about it. I'm waiting patiently and can't wait to see it roll out and see the excitement.
It being a new program and new software and the government being involved, of course, there's the usual sort of delays and work you have to put in. So we're getting there, but we hope to launch it very soon.
Very good. So let's talk about some of your day-to-day challenges. What are the biggest hurdles you face in meeting the transportation needs of your community right now? So what do you see as your biggest struggle to meet all the transportation needs you have in this community? Because we do know that transportation is huge. It's connected to everything. So what do you see on your side of it that's so hard for you to meet these needs?
It's hard to narrow it down to one thing. I know the answer you'll get a lot of that time is funding.
Oh, yeah.
And that definitely is a concern because when you have more money to work with, you're able to do more things. Like many things, public transit is one of those things that's always going to be underfunded. We do work with the state government and the FTA to get funds, and we're grateful for what we do get. But at the same time, we couldn't make it work if we didn't also have businesses and contractors in town to provide us additional revenue sources. And at the same time, we couldn't operate if we didn't have those government sources as well. So it's a balancing act.
Well, and I know, like, when you were talking about these contracts with these businesses and things, I think a lot of your businesses don't realize that they can reach out to you and create a contract and focus on some transportation needs that they have. I know we have talked about it several times with different programs to look at public transit as a potential avenue to meet the needs of their workers, their clients.
Yes, and we've even had some that have unique situations, as in, their workers have to get there early or be picked up late, and we can usually accommodate those particular situations as well. But it's one of those things, people don't think about, our larger employers in town. Maybe they need someone that can pick up their workers and take them to work in the morning, that they don't have transport themselves. There's a lot of opportunity out there. Private schools and organizations that like to do field trips or trips around town, or have multiple locations to transport people through, and even other government agencies within the state we work with.
Well, and I know, like, with different organizations and stuff, if you don't have the people come to work or be able to get to work, even we're talking downtown economic development, if you don't have the clients that can actually get to your stores or get to their employment, then that just hurts the community. So trying to find these avenues and working with, whether it's Southwest Transit, reaching out to me like Mobility Navigator, in order to bridge that gap to try to find those solutions and visit about it.
And I wanted to mention revenue because, that's kind of probably the thing that ties everything together. You could look at any individual thing and say, well, money would help with that problem. But that's the general answer. But specifically, there's other things. I know a lot of transit agencies, including us, from time to time have trouble hiring drivers because it is public transit, so it's not going to pay a ton of money. Mm-hmm. So people with CDLs might, that are willing to travel, especially, would find more competitive job offers. There's a lot of requirements you have to meet, and money. Some of those transit agencies just don't have the money to hire as many drivers as they would like. And generally speaking, I'm sure there's an equilibrium where you have as much work to support so many drivers, but I don't know that if a lot of agencies might be able to provide more service if they were able to afford and hire more drivers to work at their agency. So I know it's a big problem across the entire state.
Oh, absolutely. And when you say work for Southwest Transit, can they work full-time, part-time? What about that person that just needs that part-time job? Is that an option?
Yes, it is. And several of our drivers are what we call part-time or sub-drivers. We call them as we need them, or they work a certain specific set of hours and not outside that. And they have, a lot of those guys have other sources of income as well. They might work another job and then they drive for us.
Hey, that's an excellent secondary job. Or maybe you're retired or something like that, and you're thinking, well, I'm just kind of really bored here at the house. I want to get out. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in that retirement age yet, but I can't wait.
Well, most of the people that do the job like it. I mean, it's a fairly low key. When you think about all the things you have to do over the course of the day, you might be staring at a desk, looking at a screen all day, typing up reports, going to meetings. Instead, those guys get to drive around So not such a terrible job. Of course, you get to interact with the customers a little bit, so there could be some interesting things that happen.
I was going to say good or bad with that. That's just customer service.
But a lot of those people that do it, that's what they like to do. And we do have several drivers that are, what you might call the early retirement age, where they're no longer doing the 40-hour week thing, but they can take work as they need it.
Well, and I know, I can think of several people off the top of my head that if they could go talk to people, that's what they want to do. Going out and being able to visit with the public. And like you said, there's going to be good and bad with it. If you're talking to the general public, that's what you're going to get. But it is something to kind of get out, and you are always looking for drivers.
Yes.
I don't think any transit agency in my entire area or statewide or nationwide, we even talk nationwide.
Capacity.
Yes, there is nobody that is caught up with drivers.
Believe it or not, when I first started here, we were actually right at the number of drivers we wanted to hire now. My route supervisor would probably disagree. She could always use more drivers, but we were actually full. But right now, with the PIC expansion, and we've had several people retire over the last couple of years, we do have openings, and we're having a hard time filling them, unfortunately. And
who do they call if they want to apply for the job, or how do they get a hold of you?
You can call the central office here at 580-482-5040. It's at 900 South Carver Road in Altus. You can talk to our admin people here. You could also come in and fill out an application. And the same thing at the transit office as well. They'd probably direct you here to the central office. But,
and I'm going to kind of take this to kind of an emotional side for a moment, and I apologize, but you and I've talked a lot of times about individuals that struggle with transportation, and it's usually those that fall through the gaps. So they're not Medicaid eligible, which could pay for their transportation. A lot of these are your Medicare eligible or low income that don't quite qualify for Medicaid or need to go to other places besides medical appointments.
It'd be a process. There's a lot of people that are waiting to hear back from Social Security for disability or Medicaid or any of those, or maybe even they're too proud to apply for it.
Well, and I also say, like in Western Oklahoma, and those are the areas that I struggle with, trying to find assistance for those that fall through the gaps. And, with Western Oklahoma specifically, and yes, I'm going to kind of point out Western Oklahoma, but we're kind of that silent majority in this area. A lot of people in your far rural communities learn to do without.
Right.
And they won't ask for help. And so we don't want that to be the situation. We want people to reach out. Can we always help them? No. You're in the same boat that I am, trying to find resources to get these people where they need to go. But I do want them to reach out. It's worth visiting with someone just to see if maybe there's an option. Because a lot of times, these people will sit and just decide not to, heaven forbid, go to treatment. I've had individuals that call me, fall through the gaps, and transportation's so difficult that they decide to forego cancer treatment. It's just too difficult for them. And on top of all the other stress, that's the last thing they want to worry about. And I'm trying to basically reach out to people and say, please don't do that. Let us look for some options. With mobility management, we're trying to find grants and things that might be able to pay for that. And with that, working with our public transit to try to meet these gaps. We have monthly meetings trying to decide what is going on in our communities. How do we fill those gaps that every one of the transits face?
And let me just say, I agree with everything you just said. The listeners can't tell, but I'm vigorously nodding my head. But yes, it's a big issue, and it's one that's near and dear to anyone that works in public transit. You've got a lot of people that are struggling to be helped, or that you're not able to help for whatever reason, and it's a frustrating thing. And transportation is one of those things you don't really think about it until you don't have it, how important it is. I'm sure you can probably imagine, but it's one of those things you don't think about. Like suddenly the internet drops off, and what are you going to do for the rest of the day? Well, now you can't do business, now you can't use your computer. There's all kinds of things that are tied to that simple service that you take for granted, and transit's one of those things. you don't really think about it if you drive your own car, that's just going to be something you have to access what you need to access. But we know there's a lot of people in different situations, whatever that may be, medical, they're getting to a certain age, money issues, low income. There's a lot of people that don't have that access. Either they don't have a car themselves, or they don't have a friend that can pick them up when they need to be picked up, or go to their appointments when they need to go to appointments. So public transit is one of those very important services that people don't really think about.
Well, and just like you said, you don't realize that you need it until you don't have it. And the bad part is that we've said over and over that at some point in time, probably every single one of us are going to be in that predicament. Whether it's financial, whether it's because we don't need to be driving anymore. I had a 95-year-old tell me one time, she said, I sold my car at 92 years old. And she's because I knew I'd get in it. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a really good idea.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, I know. But we're all going to be there. And whether it's health reasons, like you said, it's one of those things that nobody thinks about until they cannot do it or they cannot have access to a vehicle. So I'm going to switch. We're going to go a little more positive. One of the things that I know you have mentioned recently, I guess it's been a little while now, but y'all are a pet-friendly transit?
Yes, we are, and I'm glad you tacked that on. Yes, Southwest, and I think we're the only one in Oklahoma, but we're totally pet-friendly. You can look on our website and see our pet policy, but if you've got a dog or a cat and you want to take them with you on your trip, if you're going to the park, if you're going to the vet, whatever, you can.
That's awesome. Coming from a major dog lover over here, that is like an incredible, because a lot of people won't let you take your animals.
Now, obviously, there's some limitations. If you want to take your support horse or a rhinoceros, we're going to have a hard time fitting them on the vehicle. So your super exotic animals or large animals are probably a bit out. But and if you have a dog, of course, we would ask that you keep them on a leash and keep them behaved. And if you have another animal, a cat, or even a snake or a gerbil, have an enclosure you can carry with you that you keep them in.
And you're also going to want to make sure that they're animal friendly, so that way if you do have them on the vehicle, again, it's not like you have 100 people on that vehicle.
Please, we like our drivers. We don't want them to go get tetanus shots.
Yes. That's absolutely true.
But that being said, there's a lot of people in town that have pets, and we have opportunities from time to time. There'll be vaccine clinics or people come in and do spay or neuter or whatever, and we want people to have access to those, and they can use public transit for that.
Awesome. Now, I have another deal, and I don't know if you can think of something off the top of your head, but can you think of any success stories or projects that you've worked on that you're really proud of with Southwest Transit? Like maybe some contracts or some events that you helped with? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I'm so sorry.
Well, I think anyone that does business with us, I'm very happy. I know this last year with Altus Christian Academy, we provided transportation for all their field trips. We've got another company out of Mangum, Mangum Brick, where we provide rides to their workers to and from work during the day. And the driver for that one has to get up early in the morning.
Well, and I just think that a lot of times with public transit that people don't realize how early sometimes you guys get up.
Yes, my route supervisor, and I guess she would be what you would call a morning person. I have a hard time relating to that myself, but I find the older I get, the more I can't sleep in anyway, so maybe I'm a morning person now, but she usually gets in at 5 or 6 a.m.
Oh, wow. See, I want that coffee cup that, has the lines on it that says, do not talk to me until I have reached this line right here, because I am not going to talk to you.
That's about where I am. I've got the blinders on.
Yeah.
I got to sit down, get a sip of coffee, and then I'm good.
Now, how do you define, or I guess I would say measure success beyond basic ridership status? What would you say makes Southwest Transit successful on a day-to-day basis?
One of the things I'm very proud with Southwest Transit, and I'm not going to say we don't get any complaints because that would be a little bit disingenuous.
Everybody gets complaints.
But we don't usually have very many formal complaints where it's bad enough that people want to come in and fill out a report and say, "Oh, hey, your driver was horrible to me," or I'll never use you again," that kind of thing. But
yeah.
Now there's been times, we've got the usual stuff like it's like, well, I had to wait an hour for you guys to come pick me up. A lot of the usual thing, or like I said, just for whatever reason we weren't able to accommodate them that time. So.
But you have a lot of vans running here in Altus, don't you?
Yes, there's always some people that are running here locally, in addition to driving all over the state because we do motor care rides and shooter care rides. But yes, we have a driver now that lives in Hollis and operates the bus there, so we always have at least one vehicle that's in town during those hours. Mangum as well. Now, Mangum's a little bit of a different situation because they used to have a senior meal center there that closed down. So now we have to transport the people that used to go to that senior center to Granite. So there's about a 2-hour window during the day there where that driver is taking those rides over or out delivering the meals. But the rest of the time, we have a driver in Mangum as well. And we usually have a few working it out to give them time just because that's by far the biggest community we have in our service area.
Awesome. Now, what would you like to see the vision of this agency be in the next couple of years? Like, if you had all the money in the world. Okay, well, first, maybe I should start out. Let's just see what your realistic vision is. Okay.
Let's keep it exclusive there.
But let me back up just a second. Let me say, what do you realistically see as a vision for this agency in the next couple of years?
One of the reasons I took the job, my background is in information technology, and one of the reasons I took the job was to bring Southwest Transit sort of into modern tech. To a certain extent, right now, all our processes are pretty much hand,
paper, pencil,
Excuse me. And so my hope is we can automate a lot more of that, use technology, and I don't mean to eliminate any positions, but just an additional tool for them to use, like our dispatchers, instead of having to call out over the radio and say, "Oh, hey, where are you? What's your status?" They can just look at their screen and see, and the software will tell them, well, here's where the driver is, and yes, they're done with their last job and they're available for another one.
Basically, it's just a time helping tools.
Yes.
Just so that you can utilize your funds somewhere else besides trying to make those phone calls every day.
Yes, and I think it would make us more efficient because, and that's going to be true, anytime you have a system that's relying totally on people, there's going to be some inefficiencies. So the software will help us. It's hard to know, like I said, because you have to put out these calls on the radio and is this driver in the area and everything else. And the software will help you with all of that. The routing as well. Like, we tend to think somewhat literally. So if somebody calls in for a ride, we'll dispatch a driver to them. Well, maybe we get another call and that person is sort of on the way and the same driver could pick them up, but a lot of times as human beings we just go, okay, well, I'll take another driver to assign them one driver for each call, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Most of our vehicles, all our vehicles, not only are all our vehicles ADA accessible if you have a wheelchair, but they're also all multi-passenger vehicles. We've got minibuses, we've got full-size conversion vans, and we've got minivans. So.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the ADA accessibility, because you do have that. So people that are wheelchair bound or walker or whatever can have access to public transportation through your vehicles.
Yes. And all our vehicles are equipped. Our bigger buses have 2 seats. Right now our minivans have 1, but the newer minivans we're going to order have 2 ADA spots. So
kind of going back to your riders, do you have any special allowances? So say you have a mother and a child, is there like an age thing that they can bring their children, or Some of them do and some don't.
A lot of times we do let them bring their children with them on a ride for free, and we're willing to work with them on whatever their situation is. Like maybe it's the child that has the appointment. So the mother would still be, we would still be arranging the ride for the mother, like if it would be her,
because she's the caregiver,
right?
Okay, and that's what I kind of wondered on that. So finally, and I'll I'm bringing it to a close, I guess I would say. So once again, if someone needed a ride in Jackson, Harmon, and Greer counties, what number do they call to schedule that ride?
580-482-5043.
Okay. And as we mentioned before, PIC is, or maybe by the time this comes out, will be available. I don't know how talented I'm going to be in getting this ready.
It is imminent.
Yes, it is coming very, very soon if it isn't here already. But that is a different number, like you said.
And hopefully we'll get the word out so it won't be a complete surprise to everyone. But as we talked about, there's people in our community that don't even know they have a public transit service. So
it's going to take all of us to try to get the word out, I'm afraid. But it is a different number, but it covers the city of Altus and includes the Altus Air Force Base in this proximity.
Yes. Right now we'll have 2 PIC-equipped vehicles operating at those hours. And then we'll see going forward if we have enough business. Maybe we do more vehicles. Maybe we expand the areas. But right now it will just be for Altus and the Air Force Base.
And I'm hoping, like you said, if you're the guinea pig and this goes really well, which I anticipate it will, I hope that many people in the communities will, and other transits will kind of get this idea. I know when I sent my first notice out about the PIC program, I had emails that came back to me and said, "Is this here too?" And I'm like, sorry, it's just the city of Altus right now. But I'm hoping that it spreads out and becomes available in Southwest Oklahoma like it is in Northeast Oklahoma.
And I would say, I don't mean to pander, but support your local
yes.
transit agencies if you're able. I know there's a lot of people that aren't, but Southwest Transit through Southwest Oklahoma Community Action, if you log on to our website, which is socad.org, there's a donate button. You can specify if you want that money to go to transit or whatever program you want it to go to. But whatever community you live in and whatever public transit, I promise you they need money.
Yes.
I wouldn't think it would be impossible for a ground campaign to enable some of these things we're talking about, like PIC, that would otherwise be cost prohibitive to the agency if they didn't have any assistance. And there's a lot of times there's not an open grant they could sign on to that will pay for this kind of thing. So.
And, just like Stephen said, reach out to your local transit agency, reach out to Southwest Transit. Some of the things we've also talked about is we do get those calls all the time of somebody that cannot afford transportation.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I always thought there's probably a place in the world for a third-party organization. And that could be one of those things, because you think about a lot of the charities that you donate to, they've got a ton of overhead because they have to hire administrators and support staff, and the bigger they get, the more structure. But if you had something like a fund for riders, that could be one of those things, very little overhead, so just about all the money that went into it could be used, and a little would go a long way. I mean, a few $1,000s would probably take care of every ride we have over the course of the year where a person couldn't afford it.
Yes. And I want to emphasize also that your dispatchers particularly and myself have been on the other end of those calls where those people will call, and I've had people crying. I've had people, asking for help, and I've done everything I can do to search for help for some of these people. Some I'm successful with and some I'm not. And it literally breaks your heart. And it's not like you said, there's not a person that answers that phone call that is not going to want to do everything they can to help that person. That's why your dispatchers reach out to me when they can't find the solutions.
We try to do what we can. And we have our own, we call it the kitty jar, where people can kick in to help out people that can't afford it.
But that's limited.
Yes.
Those funds are always limited. So
none of us if you're working in public transit or if you're working for community action, you're not a rich person either.
No, you do it for your heart. You don't do it for the money. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for being here and giving us the behind-the-scenes looks at what it takes to basically run a transit agency, what it's really like on the inside, and getting things to the community and filling those gaps that we talk about so often. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. If you've learned something new or enjoyed the episode, be sure you share this podcast.
And I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
Christine,
you go ahead.
One more plug. We have our Southwest Regional Coordinated Team that I would also like to mention. And that is open to the public, basically. If you're a person that uses transit, has an interest in using transit, is a business that's transit adjacent, whatever the case may be, you're welcome to sit in on those. We have a meeting the third Tuesday every month.
Yes, and you can even reach out to myself or Stephen in order to get an official invite. We can send you it's a virtual meeting, so you can sign in and join the meetings. Everybody's voices matter in these type of situations, and the more the merrier. So please reach out to Stephen or myself. Again, those meetings are every month where we talk about the transportation. Yes, we talk about the transportation.
That we're having, the gaps.
Right. So please reach out to us. My email is cristi@swoda.org.
And mine is Stephen with a PH, STEPHEN .IKEN @SOCAG.org.
And so, like I said before, thank you everyone for listening, and until next time, keep moving on. Thank you for joining us on Mobility Matters. Remember, transportation is more than just getting from point A to point B. It's access to opportunity, health, education, and connection. When people are left without reliable transportation, they're left behind. But together, through advocacy, innovation, and listening to the voices of those most impacted, as well as those working to solve the transportation issues, we can pave a path towards equity. Thanks for riding along with us. Until next time, keep moving forward, and let's keep the conversation going.